The Relentless Dreamer. In a bustling city where everyone was chasing after success, there lived a young man named Ethan. From an early age, Ethan had one dream that burned brighter than any other: to become a world-renowned musician. The music had always been his escape from reality, a way to express the emotions that words could never capture. Whenever he played his guitar, it felt as though time stood still. But despite his deep love for music, he faced a constant barrage of obstacles that threatened to derail his dreams. Ethan's family came from humble beginnings, and they never had the resources to support his passion. His father, a hard-working mechanic, wanted Ethan to follow a more practical career path. Music is a hobby, his father would say. You can't make a living off dreams. You need something stable, something that pays the bills. His mother, while more supportive, was always cautious, encouraging him to think of music as a passion, not a career. In high school, Ethan saved every penny he could from part-time jobs to buy his first guitar. He taught himself to play, spending hours each day practicing. He wasn't a natural, his fingers fumbled over the strings, and his voice was far from perfect. His classmates laughed at his attempts, telling him to give up, that he didn't have the talent to make it. You'll never be good enough, they said. Why waste your time? But Ethan wasn't deterred. He knew that the path to greatness wasn't about being naturally gifted. It was about persistence. He had read stories of legendary musicians who had failed time and time again, only to rise to stardom through sheer determination. He believed, deep down, that if they could do it, so could he. As the years passed, Ethan worked harder than ever. He played in small bars and cafes, performing for crowds that barely noticed him. He sent demo tapes to record labels, only to be met with silence or rejection. Doors kept slamming in his face, but he kept knocking. He wrote songs late into the night, pouring his heart into lyrics that no one seemed to hear. One day, after another failed gig, Ethan found himself questioning everything. He was sitting on the steps of a run-down apartment building, his guitar case by his side, feeling utterly defeated. Maybe they're right, he thought. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Just then, an elderly man approached him. His clothes were worn, and he had a soft, knowing smile. You look like you've hit a wall, the old man said gently, sitting beside Ethan. Ethan looked up, surprised. Yeah, he admitted, I'm starting to think this dream of mine isn't meant to be. The old man nodded thoughtfully. I've seen many people like you, people with dreams so big that they scare others. But let me tell you something, son. The difference between those who make it and those who don't isn't talent, luck, or even timing. It's the refusal to quit. Ethan sighed, feeling the weight of the old man's words. But I've been trying for so long, and nothing's happening. I don't know how much longer I can keep going. The old man chuckled. You remind me of a story. There was once a man who wanted to grow bamboo. He planted the seeds, watered them daily, and waited. But after a year, nothing happened. Not even a sprout. People told him to give up, that it was pointless. But he kept watering. For 5 years, the bamboo didn't grow an inch. Then, in the 6th year, it shot up over 90 feet in just a few weeks. You see, the bamboo was growing all along, just beneath the surface where no one could see. The old man patted Ethan's shoulder. Your dream is like that bamboo. Just because you can't see progress doesn't mean it's not happening. Keep watering it. One day, it'll grow taller than you ever imagined. With renewed resolve, Ethan thanked the old man and returned home. He realized that success wasn't something that happened overnight. It was the result of countless hours of unseen effort. He continued to play, to write, to knock on doors. Years passed, and the road remained tough. But Ethan never wavered. Then, one evening, while performing at a small open mic event, something remarkable happened. A well-known music producer happened to be in the audience. He was struck by Ethan's raw passion and the authenticity of his music. After the show, the producer approached him and offered a chance to record in a professional studio. That one opportunity led to another, and before long, Ethan's music was being played on the radio. His songs began to resonate with people in ways he never imagined. He signed with a record label, released his first album, and toured the world, playing in sold-out venues. The boy who once struggled to hit the right notes was now captivating audiences with his unique sound. But for Ethan, the most fulfilling part of his journey wasn't the fame or the fortune. It was knowing that he had stayed true to himself, that he had refused to give up when everyone else told him to. He had watered his bamboo, and now it stood tall for the world to see. In interviews, Ethan often shared his story, reminding aspiring musicians and dreamers alike that success doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who work, who persist, who refuse to let setbacks define them. Every failure is just another step toward success, Ethan would say. You don't have to be the best to make it. You just have to keep going when others stop. As we've seen in Ethan's journey, the path to success is often filled with setbacks, but those who persevere find their moment to shine. Now, let's turn to another inspiring story, this time of a young woman named Hannah Clark, whose bold decision to follow her dream led to a life-changing adventure. Her story shows us that true courage lies in taking the first step, even when the road ahead is uncertain. The journey of Hannah Clark. In a quiet town nestled in the countryside, there lived a young woman named Hannah Clark. From the outside, her life seemed ordinary. She worked a stable job at a small marketing firm, had a group of close friends, and spent her weekends relaxing in the peaceful environment of her hometown. But beneath the surface, Hannah harbored a dream so big that it felt almost impossible. She wanted to be an entrepreneur, to build something that could change the world. For as long as she could remember, Hannah had been fascinated by stories of entrepreneurs who built empires from nothing. She'd read about them late into the night, wondering how they found the courage to take such monumental risks. The idea of creating something that was truly her own filled her with excitement, but fear held her back. The fear of failure, the fear of stepping away from the stability of her current life, it was paralyzing. Unlike most people who grew up surrounded by support, Hannah's childhood had been difficult. Her family struggled financially, and her parents were constantly working just to make ends meet. The idea of pursuing dreams seemed like a luxury they couldn't afford. Her father often told her, "Hannah, you need to be practical. The world doesn't reward dreamers. It rewards hard work in safe, reliable fields." But Hannah's heart longed for more. She wanted to create a business, not just for the sake of wealth, but to prove to herself, and to those around her, that she could turn a vision into reality. She dreamed of starting a company that would empower women in rural areas to develop skills and sell handmade crafts through online platforms. It was a simple idea, but one she believed could have a profound impact on many lives. For years, she kept this dream locked away, unsure if she'd ever have the courage to pursue it. She continued to work at her marketing firm, slowly climbing the ranks, always telling herself, maybe one day. But that day never seemed to come. One cold winter evening, after a particularly exhausting day at work, Hannah found herself walking through the town's park. The snow crunched beneath her feet, and she gazed up at the stars, lost in thought. As she passed a frozen lake, she noticed a group of children attempting to build a snowman. Despite their best efforts, it kept collapsing, and the children seemed on the verge of giving up. But one little girl kept encouraging them to try again, each time with a bigger smile. Intrigued, Hannah approached and offered to help. Together, they worked on building the snowman, and though it took several tries, they finally succeeded. The little girl beamed with pride, her eyes sparkling. "See," she said, "we did it." Hannah smiled, but the girl's words echoed in her mind long after she had left the park. That simple phrase, "we did it," resonated with her deeply. It wasn't about the snowman, it was about the determination and the belief that they could make it happen if they didn't give up. That night, Hannah sat at her kitchen table, staring at her business idea scribbled on a piece of paper. She had been thinking about this for years, but always held back. The children's perseverance reminded her of something important: the only true failure was not trying at all. The next morning, Hannah made a decision that would change her life forever. She quit her job at the marketing firm. It was terrifying, and her parents were shocked. Her friends were supportive but concerned. "Are you sure about this, Hannah?" they asked. "You have a good career. Why risk everything?" But Hannah knew that the biggest risk of all was never chasing her dreams. She had no illusions about how difficult the journey would be, but she was ready. With the little savings she had, she rented a small office space and began working on her business idea. She researched, made connections with local artisans, and spent hours learning the ins and outs of online retail. It was overwhelming, but she kept reminding herself that every step was progress. For months, things didn't go as planned. Sales were slow, and she struggled to make ends meet. There were times when she questioned her decision, wondering if she had made a huge mistake. But each time doubt crept in, she remembered the little girl by the lake and how many times they had to try before the snowman finally stood tall. Success wasn't about getting everything right the first time, it was about not giving up when things went wrong. Then, one day, things began to shift. An influencer on social media discovered Hannah's business and shared it with her large following. Orders started flooding in. Women from across the country reached out to collaborate with her, and soon, Hannah's small business started gaining national attention. The mission of empowering rural women to turn their crafts into sustainable incomes resonated with people far beyond her small town. Hannah's company grew rapidly. She hired a team, expanded her product offerings, and began giving talks at conferences about her journey. The same people who had once cautioned her against leaving her safe career now looked to her as an example of what could be achieved with determination and passion. Years later, Hannah's company had become a global brand, with artisans from all over the world creating unique products that were sold through her platform. But through it all, Hannah remained humble. She often spoke about the lessons she learned during those difficult early years. In interviews, she would say, "It wasn't talent or luck that got me here, it was the decision to keep going when it felt like everything was falling apart." Her story inspired countless others to follow their dreams, reminding them that success isn't about avoiding failure, it's about refusing to let failure stop you. Hannah knew that the true reward wasn't the financial success or the recognition, it was knowing that she had built something meaningful from the ground up. She had created a community that not only provided for her, but empowered others to take control of their lives. In one of her final interviews, a young journalist asked her what advice she would give to those who felt stuck, trapped by fear and doubt. Hannah smiled, remembering that cold winter night in the park. "Don't be afraid to start small," she said. "Even the biggest dreams begin with a single step. It's not about how fast you move, it's about not stopping when the road gets hard. Keep building, keep trying. One day, you'll look back and realize you've built something beautiful." And with that, Hannah Clark became a symbol of resilience, of daring to dream even when the world tells you otherwise. She had taken a leap of faith, and in doing so, she had transformed not just her own life, but the lives of countless others. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed these stories and found them inspiring, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to AI Creations. Here, we bring you AI-generated stories, from motivational tales like these to thrilling horror and meaningful life lessons. There's always something new to discover, so hit that notification bell and join us on this journey of creativity and storytelling. See you in the next video.